Good afternoon. I'm Steve Nicklin, Senior Vice President of Marketing Analytics here at the OAAA, and I'm pleased to welcome you to today's webinar with Borrell Associates, where we'll be highlighting valuable insights from a variety of their data sources, including portions of their just-released local ad survey. Before we begin, a few topics to review. We do welcome your questions throughout the webinar, so please feel free to submit them using the Zoom question function. If we can't get to your question, we will follow up with you individually after the webinar. And then also, once again, all of our webinar content is always featured in our webinar library, which you can access from our homepage under the News and Events tab. And a recording of the webinar from today will also be available later this afternoon, along with a summary presentation PDF. To set the stage for today's presentation, a quick recap that out-of-home finished the first quarter of this year up almost 7%, and IPG Media Brands Insights partner Magna projects that out-of-home is going to grow 5.2% for total this year in 2024, and they also project digital out-of-home will grow 10%. I hope all of you saw yesterday's OAAA sales tip that featured key product categories driving out-of-home growth over the past 12 months. If you didn't see it, please double check your email. And if you didn't receive it, please send me a message and I'll be happy to forward it to you. We do think today's content is going to really provide valuable perspectives on the conditions within your local marketplaces and what your clients are thinking about right now and experiencing, along with their marketing and ad intentions for the second half of this year. So we're very pleased to have with us today Elliott, Borrell Associates EVP of Local Market Intelligence. And if you haven't seen him give a presentation before, you're in for a treat. Corey, welcome. It's great to see you again. And I know our members will really benefit from the informative trends and data you're going to be sharing today. So let's dive in and review the current marketplace opportunities.
Great. Thanks, Steve. And thanks for having me. And hello, everybody out there. I'm really excited to be a part of this and show you what we have. We've got Steve can attest, we have a lot to get through. So we're going to dive right into it. And as you come up with questions, remember, some of the questions might be answered as we go through the presentation. But yeah, I like dialogue. I like to talk. So let's get right into it as soon as I can figure out how to move the slides. Here we go. If you don't know who Borrell is or Borrell Associates is, we are a company that's dedicated to local advertising and analyzing and forecasting spend by local businesses in local markets. So we're not the big Nielsen guys. We're not looking at overall trends of national data and national advertising. We concentrate on local, local county level kind of advertising. And we have a lot of different resources we use to do that. What we're going to concentrate on in this presentation are basically information from three sources that we have. One is our database of expenditures, and I'll explain exactly what I mean by expenditures here in just a second. We also administer local advertiser surveys through our media partners. We talk to local advertisers, thousands of them, and get their input about local marketing and local advertising, good things, the bad things, all the stuff. And you're going to see a lot of it today. And we maintain an SMB panel, which is a few hundred actually, local advertisers that we get to ping every month with a series of about maybe 5 questions so we don't overwhelm them, but they're on different topics. And just to get their ideas of where they're at in their head. And so we play a vital role, we think, between the actual local businesses in a market and people who are trying to sell them advertising. We kind of are the translator between the two. So don't shoot the messenger on any of this stuff, right? I'm just telling you what they tell us. So let's get into what we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss local media trends, going to just set the stage of what we're seeing in 2024 and look out to 2025. Then we're going to talk about retail sales trends, and why this is important is I'm trying to get you into the mindset of a local advertiser. And by doing that, you got to understand where the economy is from their point of view, how well anything is doing. Then we're going to go a little bit deeper into the perceptions by local advertisers when they look out 6 months. What do they think is going to happen with the economy and with their marketing spend? Then we're going to move into what we know about local advertisers who buy out of home, what they're doing. And then we're going to look at the results of our local 2024 survey. And then we're going to end with what local advertisers want you to know. These are an answer to open-ended questions about, hey, what do you want a media company to know? And we kind of categorized them up and bucketed them up for you into 4 different things with actual quotes from local advertisers about what they want you to know. So let's get right into it. This is starting with local media trends. The first thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to purposely pause here before I unveil everything, is what we do at Borrell is we look at expenditures, and that is a little different than revenue. In other words, we look at everything from a local advertiser's point of view and where they spend money, regardless of who they spend it with, right? So whether they're spending on, I'm going to use an extreme example, newspaper, whether it be the local newspaper or USA Today, a national brand, it doesn't matter to us. They're spending on a printed newspaper. Okay, that's going to be important as we look through this. But let's look at where we see, and it's nothing national. These are local dollars, right? So take out all the national players, the tier 1 auto groups, the CPGs, all that stuff isn't part of this. Okay, so we see 2024 coming up, total local advertising going to be up 3.2% over 2023. Now, when we divide this into 2 buckets, both digital and non-digital, something different happens. I'm going to show you the numbers, then I'm going to explain a little bit about digital out of home and where that sits. Right now, we see digital advertising, local digital advertising, meaning the money being spent by local advertisers on digital, going up 4.9%. Local non-digital advertising, think printed magazines, printed newspaper, terrestrial radio, broadcast TV, and out of home. Okay, now, before you jump on me, about digital, right now, the digital out of home is inside our out of home bucket because we don't see, it's a different way to display the message. It's a different format, right? Rather than the difference between a printed newspaper and their website. That's the kind of the difference. So right now, local out of home is in there. But my friends, take a look at this. This is when we break it out by media, and your eyes are probably going to jump right to here, right about left or right of middle, out of home. We see out of home being up in local expenditures 3.5%. That beats a lot of the other traditional. You'll see that local TV stations are up, but guess what? It's an even year. That's what happens. In even years, broadcast TV stations go up, and odd years they go down. And I bet you know why. That would be political and Olympics a lot. Well, every 4 years. Oh no, every 2 years, Olympics. So that's the lay of the land as far as media goes. Let's look a little bit forward into what our model says for 2025. So in 2025, again, I gotta emphasize these are expenditures. Total local advertising up 1.8%. That's with local digital being up 4.4 and local non-digital being down 4.5. So you see already who's getting the more share. Did that come out right? I don't think it did. But who's gaining share between digital and non-digital? I mean, it's upwards overall of 60, 70% of spending out there is somewhere digital. I know it's an incredibly big number, but we can explain that later. Okay, and now as far as the individual different media goes, here's what we see 25 over 24. Again, right here in the middle, out of home, we see it up 4%. It's one of these, we call it traditional media, or, you know, when you put it next to radio and TV, it's one of these ones that keep on chugging along. Regardless, it's a media, you guys are a media that hasn't been affected by digital the way, and you guys know this, that everybody else has. It's an amazing media that stands, stands alone, stands apart, and has a special role. And later on in the presentation, you're going to see where that role is, or one of the roles it is where it naturally fits with what local advertisers want. So this is one thing. This is overall percentage changes, but what it doesn't tell you is the base, how much money is being spent. So let's take a look at this. This is an ugly graph, and you're going to get this presentation regardless, one way or another. So you don't have to take screenshots or anything. But this is what the actual expenditures look like. And what you're going to see is a couple things here. Again, I know we look at out of home's on this nice little uptick that a lot of other traditional media is not on that kind of uptick. Radio had one right after the pandemic. They were going great because they went so low during the pandemic that it was easier for them to come up, but now they're tapering off. But you can see the big guys, which are different kinds of search, whether it's general search, listings, paid search is search within an environment. Think cars.com, things like within a walled environment. General paid search is exactly what you think it is. Google, and mainly Google, but those big things. And then OTT and streaming video, which is any video digitally sent. Well, it's sent through the internet. So it could be everything from connected TVs to video ads on a gaming console, any of that stuff. So that's why that's growing so big. And then you have targeted banners. That's what we call it. That's mainly where you see a lot of social advertising. In other words, some ad that is direct online that is directed to Steve, but not me. Targeted banner. Okay. So those are the big guys here. You're here. Cinema's over here. If you were to take cinema and add it to out of home, I did these calculations. I don't have them here. By 2025, you're literally, I didn't tell Steve this, you're literally at 99% of radio. You're right there with radio when you add those two together. So let's continue on. Let's start to get into the mindset of the local business. And I want to start by showing you retail sales trends, what has been going on in the US and how it affects them. So here, there's a lot to look at here. Stay with me. What you're looking at is month to month retail sales. This comes from the U.S. Census Bureau. The latest information we have is in March of 2024. But let me guide you a little bit so you can read the rest of them. This red line will always be 2020. And you can see that big dip. So these other lines here were previous years. So there's a nice trend happening. And then the pandemic set in. And you have this dip. And then it started coming up better than it was in previous years. Then a huge spike up in 2021, and it's been carrying that way the last 2 years, been very much the same as far as a new kind of a trend. And here is where we are in 2024. Now, the reasons for that is everything you can think of, from inflation to consumer behavior. All of that is part of the reason why this is happening. But every category has a slightly different story. And I just want to show you some that I know are of interest to out of home or are big out of home spenders, like food services and drinking places. Look how they crashed in 2020, of course, started to come back up. Then every subsequent year got better. Here's where they are in 2024. Yay. Best first quarter so far in the past few years. Let's look at another big one, new car dealers. So what do you think this graph looks like for new car dealers? Well, looks like this. So again, red, 2020. The other years here in between now and 2020, right here, finding a new rhythm. And here we are in 2024. So it looks like the same kind of patterns happening, right? Oh, 2024 is always just a little bit better. My friends, not so. Let me show you used car dealers. Look at that. So here, big dip in 2020. Here are the past 3 years. Look at 2024. A little bit down from, now it's granted, it's more than they had pre-pandemic, but it's down from 2023 and I get in 2022, really. So they're a little bit down in used car dealers. Let me show you one more. Grocery stores, which are important to you guys, they had the reverse thing happen in 2020. So when everybody else had a crash in March, April, they actually shot up because we were all out buying toilet paper, right? And all that stuff. So that went up in their first quarter of 2024, doing good. And they look like they're settling into a new rhythm as well. Last one. And this one, I'm going to make a guess. What category, and it's important when you think about local advertisers, what category do you think this is that was never really affected by 2020, right? It actually went up during when the pandemic really hit. And then every other year got better and better and better, made more and more money, and to where 2024 is best so far. Place your guesses now. It is non-store retailers. I know that's a weird term, but non-store retailers mean online retailers. That, not brick and mortar places. Those are the ones who have been gaining. And let me show you 2 more slides on this because it affects how local advertisers are thinking. Here, what you're seeing, this orange line is, consider it brick and mortar retail sales across the board. That blue line is non-brick and mortar, non-store retailers. That blue line, and you can see it's slowly creeping up. This is creeping up too, but this is creeping up too. Now, if you change that to a share, like what's the share of all of this? It looks like this. This is non-store retailer share. These are shares off to the side. We're back in January 16th, bipping around 10%. Now it's closing in on 20%. This is important when you think about the stress that local retailers are under. Not only do they have to worry about the guy down the street, they have to worry about people that have no, or businesses that have no storefront in a local market that are taking dollars and are gaining more and more ground. So these are additional pressures these guys are feeling. So let's get into that a little bit. Let's talk about Main Street perceptions. Every quarter, we get to ask our SMB panel the same series of questions so we can trend it. And it's all about looking back, how was the economy? How's the economy now? And we ask them 2 forward-looking questions. We ask them, what do they think how will the economy be for sustaining a small business in the next 6 months? Will it be better or worse? And then we also ask them, what about your marketing spend? Is it in the next 6 months? Are you going to increase it or decrease it? So I want to show you a year over year what they've been saying. So we're going back a number of years to April 19th. Unfortunately, we didn't have it. It's not exactly, we didn't exactly ask in May back here. But what you're looking at here in red are the percentage of small businesses, small, medium businesses, local businesses who said, man, the next 6 months it's going to get worse. And it makes sense, right? March 2020, 71% said, ooh, next 6 months is going to be worse. That optimism, actually, when this falls, optimism goes up. 47% back in May of 2021 said it's going to get better. Now, what has happened for the past 3 years, this is kind of encouraging. While I know that only 7, 9, and 9% are saying it's going to get better in the next 6 months, look at the pessimism going down. It was 2 years ago, 51% of local business said, man, it's going to get worse. Then it dropped to 39. Then it dropped to 32. So I'm not trying to paint a picture of everything's rosy, but what I'm saying is the pessimism is abating a little bit, which is incredible considering 2024 is an election year. That always builds some kind of volatility into people thinking forward. Now, let me show you what they said about marketing. So we asked about the economy in the next 6 months. That's what this is. Then we asked about, are you going to spend more in green, less in red? And this is of overall advertising. Are you going to spend more or less in the next 6 months? And you can see this bounce around between 29, 16, 31, and then settles right around 20% for these years. Same with less. So you have about the same saying they're going to spend less, and about the same saying they're going to spend more for the past 3 years. So that's encouraging when you think about the pessimism coming down and the fact that this hasn't really trended weird, that it's always been about the same. We're looking at the same thing. So let's now get to Time check. Oh, we're doing great. Okay. We are going to go to a new section here. We're going to look at, this is hot off the press. This is our spring 2024 survey of local advertisers. We do one in the spring and one in the fall. What we do is we partner with local media companies, and they send this survey out to their advertisers. So what you're looking at are really, honestly, the results of businesses that are actively advertising, right? They wouldn't be a client otherwise. So these, I can't say they're all SMBs. These are results of businesses who advertise. So they have money, they're spending money. So let me show you, and you guys are among the first to see this stuff. So let me show you exactly what we're looking at here. Here, just to set the stage, is a readout of the businesses that answered the survey this year, this spring. So you can see what we're looking at here as far as gross annual revenue. 35% of them say they're less than 500,000. So those are the small guys. And then you have 10% who say the gross revenue is over 10 million, and 14% chose not to tell us. Fair enough. We asked about their estimated ad spend. We got a good chunk less than 5,000, but you got a good chunk 11. Here's 25% more than 50,000. So that's basically who's answering this thing. And they come from a walk of different kind of categories. A lot of retail, you can imagine. Basically anybody who advertises, right? So here we go. The 2024 ad budget outlook. When compared to 2023, we asked, are you going to spend more or less? Here's what they said. 68% said. Now, remember, these are guys saying they're going to do stuff. What they do, what they say and what they do could be different. But that's why I wanted to show you these are the voices from Main Street, from the local market. This is what they're telling us. 68% said they're going to do the same. 20% said, no, I'm going to spend more in 24 than I did in 23. And when we compared how much did you spend in 23 to 24, or what you project to spend in 2024, look like this. They say they're going to spend about overall 9.4% more than they did in 2023. So that's all good. Let's take a little bit of a look. We also asked, we get into every one of those different kinds of advertising, right? From, like I said, from paid search to newspaper to out of home. And we ask also, are there any media that you didn't advertise in 23, but you're going to advertise in 24? This is what they said. Now, granted, these percentages look small, but that's overall. These are brand new buyers, right? So what we're saying is that 6% of the business out there said, yeah, you know what? Next year I'm going to try, in 2024, I want to try out of home. That's right on par with the amount that say they're going to try radio, social media, SEM. Hell, it beats out OTT. So there is interest, and especially when you look at this, outside of radio, everything else is digital. So you're starting to get it, and I know you guys know this, but it's refreshing probably maybe to hear it from somewhere else. There's starting to be an interesting relationship between everything outdoor and everything digital. There's an interesting play happening here, and it's being seen, is what my point, by local advertisers. So overall, 41% plan to try something new. Might not be outdoor, but something new. So there's a appetite for it. Okay, strap in because this next slide gets real busy. Ready? Okay, here we go. Media metrics. What you're seeing, and I purposely covered up the part of the slide so we can concentrate. These are the percentage of the participants who said they bought any one of these things in 2023. I highlighted out of home so it's easier to find. 22% said, yeah, I bought out of home in 23. Number one, social media, of course, up there. Event sponsorship, website ads, SEM, all up there. Then we went to, do you expect to add or increase to that to whatever you're spending on? These are the percentages who said that. So now you've got 10% saying, Yeah, I plan to increase my spend in out of home. 28, the high ones here in green, 28%, all up here, social media events, website ads, SEM. Then we asked, what about decreasing or cutting? What percentage are going to do that? Looks like this. So now we've got only 7% up here. You've got, where are you? Right there, 6% here. So there's a net, I should just get to this real quick. There's a net difference here. And the net difference here in just points, you're sitting at +4. So there's more coming, increasing than going, right? So that's good. The big healthy ones are these 4 up here. People that are hurting, newspaper, anything print, are hurting, and you can see that in the projections of our ad expenditures for those guys. If you go back to that other slide, when you get this, you can see they're all going down. Direct mail is having a fun time. You should take a look at direct mail. It kind of goes up and down. Direct mail is trying to figure its stuff out right now, but print, newspapers, magazines, things like that, ooh, not so good. So let's go on to a little thing that I want to make sure you guys understand when it comes from local business, because local businesses are telling us this. And that is, when it comes to marketing a business, it ain't just about advertising, right? There are other things that are just now table stakes for local businesses. They've got to have them. I guess you could have a business that doesn't have a website or a social media presence. I'm sure they're out there, but it's kind of table stakes now. So we wanted to get a little bit into what their digital services they're using and what they're paying for. And so this is just a look at, remember, when you go to pitch these guys, there are other things that are outside of advertising that could still be considered marketing that they have to spend money on, like web development and social media management and SEO and email marketing management. And we asked about geofencing. It was actually a little smaller than I thought it was, but then again, we're talking to local guys. But these are the average being spent. So the top of the bill here is SEO. So as we talk about the amount of money being spent in marketing, remember, these guys have to spend on this stuff as well. So it makes it even a little tougher to get advertising spend out of some local businesses. Let's move on to methods. This is an important one. And I can spend a lot of time on this. This is about how local advertisers buy advertising and how they prefer to buy advertising. So you got a couple things going on here. The orange numbers, the ones out here, are the percentage who say, yeah, we bought advertising in this way. So 78% said via email with a salesperson or account rep. That's number one. That's how most are getting done. The blue is when we ask them the secondary question, okay, pick one. Which is the one you prefer? And here's what I want to point out is, of course, number one in use and preference is via email with a salesperson or account rep. So it's still discussion with an account rep somewhere. Number two is in person. Then through a self-service program, then over the phone, and it kind of falls down after this. The point being here is that local businesses are telling us, yeah, they want to buy directly. They want some kind of interaction, whether it's through email or in person. They would like that, but there's a caveat. And that is they would really prefer, and you'll see this coming up, they would really prefer not just buying advertising, but buying some kind of strategic marketing plan. That's what they would prefer. If you're just going to sell them just an ad somewhere, whether it be a billboard or a bus stop or a newspaper ad or what, if you're just going to sell them an ad, I could probably do that some other way. I don't need to be in person with you. So keep that in mind as we get to what they want you to know. Let's take a look at this. I thought it was important because this is on their minds. How they're using social media, that's out there. And we discovered a while ago that there's a difference between asking a business if they use social media, or let's pick on Facebook, if they use Facebook to advertise or to market, and if they pay Facebook to market. So what you're looking at here is a little bit of a deeper dive, not into just those people who use Facebook to market themselves, but the ones who actually buy something, who actually pay for advertising some way or another. And what you're seeing here is, so this is saying 69% of the people who use Facebook actually bought something. So you can flip that around and say 31% of the people who use Facebook are using some kind of free thing or think they're using Facebook by posting something on Facebook. But 69% of them are spending money. Here are the averages, the big ticket item here, 8,300 on YouTube. This is the percentage of buyers who say that thing, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, is very or extremely effective, and the percent who say of non-buyers, people who aren't buying anything, who are using it for free, say it's effective. And I think it's interesting that when you spend money on something, the effectiveness score kind of goes up, because who wants to admit that something they're spending money on isn't effective? The only time that changes down here with FB Messenger, where you had 32% who said they spent something, a nominal amount, saying it was effective, while 39% of the non-buyers said it was effective. But that's pretty low. Everything else, if you're buying it, it's perceived as more effective. Whether it, again, don't shoot the messenger, that's what they're telling us. And I think this is important here. 63% of advertisers spent money with at least one social media platform in 2023. So that, I mean, that's darn near 2/3 are spending somewhere on social media. So, my friends, checking time, we're doing good. Let's get into out-of-home buyers and what we know about them from our surveys, because we got a healthy amount that we could really cut and get into. So let's get into what we know. And you're probably going to agree with some of this, disagree with others. That's fine, because what we're doing is, it's an amalgamation, it's an average of everybody in our survey. So your local markets may be a little different, and that's fine. You can understand how your markets are different and your people are different. Here's what we saw. 22% back in 2023 said, yeah, I bought out-of-home advertising. And we found out we cut them then, right? So we looked at out-of-home buyers and out-of-home non-buyers, I guess, people who weren't buying out-of-home, and kind of compared those two groups. And what we found was that out-of-home buyers tended to have been in business longer. 65% of them have been in business for over 30 years. They're probably skew a little bit bigger. They 42% have over 100 employees, and they're on the higher side of gross revenue spent. 32% have over 10 million. Remember that first slide where I showed you there was a healthy amount spending over 10 million? Well, a third of the out-of-home buyers in our survey say they have over $10 million in gross revenue. So older, bigger, making more money. And this next one. We, in our screener of our survey, we don't come out and ask, hey, are you a marketing expert? What we do is you have to be in charge of marketing to answer a survey. Okay. After that, we ask you, hey, how long have you been doing marketing and how many hours a week do you do marketing? And we get kind of a proxy about their savviness, how long they have been doing marketing. Doesn't mean they're doing it right. It just means they have more experience. And what we found out is 44%, that's this over here. Blue is out-of-home buyers, orange is out-of-home non-buyers, people who aren't buying out-of-home. 44% of the out-of-home buyers are what we would consider master marketers. So these aren't agencies. We've taken the agencies out of this. This has nothing to do with agencies. These are literally local businesses. And so what this tells us is they're bigger, more experienced, been around longer, and probably have some experience with marketing, and they're turning to out-of-home. Clue number one. Here's the next clue that I think is really fascinating. Now we're looking at that pool of out of home buyers, right? We asked them, okay, you're buying out of home, got that. What else are you buying? This is what they said. So 80% say, yeah, I'm buying social media. I'm investing in events. I'm investing in website ads. I'm investing in SEM, and then it goes down from there. And what I thought was really important, and Steve is going to kill me because I have the wrong slide coming up next. And I'm not exactly sure what to do about it. I have the breakouts and not that final table. Do you want me to quickly find the final table, or do you want me to try and blow through these?
I'm going to leave that up to you.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this not to cut the flow, but I'm going to concentrate on what I want you to concentrate on. All right, I'll show you what I mean. So you're actually, oh no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. It's all fine. I was one slide ahead. Ignore
Crisis
that
averted.
last 30 seconds. Ignore it. Cut it out. Okay. Here's what I was one slide ahead. So we're good. We also asked about if any of these media were very or extremely effective or slightly or not effective. Okay. Now, again, this is still among out of home buyers. That's all we're asking about here. So we picked out those four that that a lot of them do: social media events, social media events, website ads, and SEM. The blue is what percentage of them said, man, this is very or extremely effective. The orange is slightly or not effective. And I added in what they said about out of home over here too. So you can see right now, as far as the not effective, it's, hell, more SEM, a higher percentage said SEM was not effective than out of home. I'm not so worried about that, but you can see that generally there's a lot of attraction, again, about out of home buyers to these four other things: out of home, digital things, that connection. And I think that's important to explore because it's a beauty. And I know you guys have done plenty of studies on it and looked at it, but what I'm telling you is it's coming through on the back end with the local advertisers. Maybe they're not consciously seeing the connection, but this is telling me there is one. Let me show you this. This is also a look at the plans to buy. Would you in 2024, are you going to increase? Do you think you will increase or will you decrease your spend on these things? Look again, out of home buyers. That's the pool we're looking at. This is the percentage that said, yeah, man, next year I'm going to increase 38, 36, 20, 28%. Say I'm going to increase. Under 10% say they're going to decrease. A lot of interest there on the digital side. So finally, I'm getting down to the last four slides. I'm sure you're elated. Here is the advice from local advertisers. So what we did in our survey, open-ended question. We said, hey, tell us, little Borrell Associates, what you want from local media providers, whoever they are. What are the things that you wish they knew that you wanted? We got all these answers. We didn't give them any choices. They could just type in whatever they wanted. We took those and then obviously grouped them together. And here's what we came up with. 4 points. Number one, no matter who you are, be affordable. They want you to know that they have smaller budgets. They want lower start fees. There are some media companies out there that charge for that kind of stuff. They don't want one-shot plans, and they want to unbundle deals. So anytime that you come in with a packaged up thing for them, their nature is to try and unbundle it, so keep that in mind. Next is, probably not surprisingly, listen and learn. Understand us, understand who we are. That is table stakes nowadays. For what local advertisers have told us is that, look, if you're coming in to sell me advertising, you had better know something about my business. Something. That's just table stakes. Don't come in with another needs analysis. Don't have time for that. Know my industry. It's my agenda, not yours. Don't come in and force anything down my throat. Make me understand, listen to my problem and help me solve it. Learn and then act. So don't come in with, I've got your solution if you've never talked to the person before. I know for a lot of you, this is simple, but I think it helps to hear it from the local advertisers, right? And they know that's what we want. Here's a big one. Provide measurement. They all want better attribution. They want better ROI. They love customized reporting. Whether a media company can or can't do this, it doesn't matter. That's what they want. They want the outcome, not the audience. That's an important one. Oh, you guys don't really suffer from that. I don't think you do. But other media companies have gone on a tangent in the last few years about audience-based selling. Heck, when I was sitting at a paper years ago, it was all about audience-based selling. We got to go out there and sell our audience. I'm here to tell you that audience-based selling is dead. What they would rather have is consumer-based selling. They would rather know, I don't care who your audience is, as long as they buy whatever I want them to buy, as long as they're coming into my store and they're doing what I want them to do. So focus it less on you and your wonderful audiences and me and my consumers. That's what's important. Provide me that information. That means a lot of companies are going to have to get into database analytics and stuff like that, but that's for another topic. And then proof of ROI, like I said, they want proof. Fourth thing, bring creativity. They still want to see that. They want to be fresh. They want to see fresh ideas. They want you to apply the latest, newest trends, think outside the box, and basically come to them with ideas after you learn about them and understand what their problems are. Then come to them with a complete package. And I don't have it really here, but when you sum it up, and I said at the beginning of the presentation, they would much rather understand a larger marketing, transparent marketing campaign than they would one-off things. Because if they have to do the one-off things means, okay, I'm going to buy a radio ad, I'm going to buy a billboard, I'm going to buy a TV spot, whatever it is, that's making them the center of marketing. Now, I know they have marketing savvy, but they can always use help. So if you're doing that, you're nothing more than a vending machine at that point, right? I'm the SMB owner, and I'm choosing which things I want and hope to hell it works. As opposed to having a partner that comes in and says, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to go from the big funnel down to, the selling and the loyalty, the whole consumer funnel. This is how we're going to do it. That's what they want. And that's why they want to be in person. If you can come to them with that in person, they'll much more likely sit with you. So look at this, everybody's favorite slide, the summary. Here we go. Remember a couple things. Retail sales are high, but it's different for every category. Remember the used car dealers not having such a great quarter as they were last couple of years. So it's category dependent. SMBs outlook is less pessimistic, but it's still a little guarded. It's not like everything's coming up roses, but that pessimism is abating a little bit. Local advertising, we see it increasing in 24 and 25, and out of home, we see increasing in 24 and 25. Out of home buyers, remember, and I'm sure you know this, but validation, they're larger. My ear must have grown because I keep dropping my earphone. Out-of-home buyers are larger, experienced, and a little bit more savvy when it comes to marketing than your typical local business. They have an interest, especially out-of-home guys, in all things digital. They're going to be spending money there. So that connection of out-of-home to things digital, that funnel, you keep working on that. That's the right path. As far as they're considered, they're desperate for marketing help. They want it. They don't want ads being sold to them. They want marketing help. Be affordable, creative, a good listener, provide measurement. That's what they're looking for. Okay, with that, a couple ads, more ways to connect to us, to Borrell Associates. If you like podcasts, me and my boss do a podcast every other week. I do videos every other week, usually on some aspect of local marketing, something that the local advertisers have said or told us. It's between 5 and 10 minutes, but try and just share the knowledge there. You're going to be able to get this presentation a couple ways. Steve's going to be able to make it available to you. This is also a QR code that can get you right to a PDF version of it. The reason we put it up here is my boss likes people to fill out an evaluation after every presentation to show him how I did. So if you're kind enough to do that, that'd be awesome. Fill that out, let him know. And Steve, that is it.
Corey, that was fantastic. And thank you so much. I just want to point out to everybody, you can scan this QR code to get today's presentation, or you'll be able to download it from our website later today, along with the complete recording. But we also will put up our typical webinar Zoom survey at the end. So I want to make sure that you please participate in that also. I want to, before we get into the questions, I want to go back and touch on really those 4 themes, Corey, that you just reviewed, that the direct feedback from the respondents. So in terms of affordability, I want to put out to everybody, you can grab that CPM data off of our website. It shows out of home offers one of the best values out there. The only other medium that's competitive to us in terms of the CPM value that we offer is digital. In terms of listening and learning, I want to flag 3 really important studies. Corey talked a lot about the consumer profiles, but to me, one of the most compelling and interesting data sets out of all this was their significant investment in digital assets and resources, whether it's their website development, their social media management, search engine optimization, email marketing management. Those are, in essence, kind of all fixed costs. They are super committed to digital. A lot of them are. And out of home amplifies digital in an incredible way. We've done a lot of work on this that shows how out of home really drives online activation. So we can really help amplify those fixed investments that they're already incurring and increasing their ROI within digital by adding out of home to their media plans. So I want to point out, first of all, if you go to our homepage and you click on Resource Center and go down to marketing research, the first study listed is the digital out of home study that we just released at the conference last month. That's got great information there about how digital out of home drives digital activation. And then if you go down to the bottom of that first page and click over to the second page, the very first study listed there is the out of home ad study that we released a year ago at the conference. That was done with Morning Consult. And again, great data and information and analytics there about, again, how out of home, both printed and digital, drives online activation. And then further down on that second page within marketing research, you can grab that ComScore online activation study that we did that showed that out of home drives online activation between 5 and 6 times beyond the expected rate based on ad dollars of investment. So a lot of really great stories there for you to really communicate to them. And that's part of, I think, that whole listening learning concept, right? Acknowledging that a lot of your clients are pretty heavily invested in digital, and you have a way to help them make those investments work harder. In terms of providing measurement, certainly many of you subscribe to Geopath, great data sets there in terms of audience delivery. In terms of ROI with measurement, we have fantastic case study library on our website. You can go to that page. It's also under the Resource Center, click on case studies. And within there, you can filter to specifically to local case studies. Everybody loves a testimonial, and those all have results included in them. So a lot of great examples there. Also under that, providing measurement, the consumer profiles that Corey was talking about, the clients making sure that our medium is reaching their consumer profile. All those research studies I just mentioned have a lot of really great information there about how out-of-home over-indexes, especially with younger, more multicultural audiences. We generate really great stats with millennials and Gen Z, a lot of good information in there. And then the last point that he raised, the creativity. Want to make sure that you're all aware again of our creative library that's on our website. It features a lot of our OB winners in specific. We also have a creative testing tool on the site. If you go to the homepage, scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's a link there for the creative testing tool. That's a great way to help move your clients along to producing the most effective creative that they can, because effective creative drives results, and that, of course, in the end drives renewals, which we all love. And then we also have the creative best practices on the website, which is a really helpful tool to share with your clients to help educate them on how to craft and come up with the most effective out-of-home creative. We do have some questions, and I'm going to just barrel through these here pretty quickly. Question: what percentage of out-of-home advertising is local versus national? Roughly 2/3 of out-of-home is local. So again, it's the core of our business. It's the most important, largest piece. And the other third is national. What we find over time is local doesn't seem to have as much variance as the national does. National seems to be more sensitive to economic trends. So, we love local. It's the core of our business. And then Corey, here's a question for you. Based on the results from the survey, would these apply to Canadian business owners as well? And if so, why or why not?
Yeah, the goofy answer is kinda. No, because 80% of Canada exists within 50 miles of the US border. It's something crazy like that. There's a lot of the consumer behavior is very much the same. Where it would be different as far as local businesses go, you'd have to go category by category. For the most part, retail, yeah, it would hold true. But then when you get to bigger spenders down here, like for hospitals or for profit down here, not so in Canada. So that whole advertising mix is a little different up there. But for the most part, yeah.
Great. And then I'm going to take these next two, and then we'll wrap up and ask you to take the survey, please. So this was that assuming that most local spend is direct as opposed to programmatic, when you add in national, kind of how does that break out? And so what we're seeing in terms of trend is digital out of home is about 1/3 of our business these days. And the best estimate that we have in terms of what percentage share is programmatic out of home of the total out of home piece pie is about high single digits, probably anywhere between 7 and 9% is programmatic. And that does tend to be obviously more national than local. And that is, those are the questions that we had for today. So Corey, I just really appreciate it so much. This has been super insightful, and I think super valuable for our members. So thank you for walking us through that in such a thorough, engaging way. I would like to remind our members again that the whole recording in today's presentation will be available on the website later today. And again, we hope that you'll please take a moment to complete the survey as it comes up on your screen. Thank you all for joining us today. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.